So hello everyone, this video is about the new Battlefield. Now, I would just like to start off with, I've not really done many of these videos before, so just bear with us if it goes on a bit long. But the main thing I want to discuss is essentially BF7 and the rental server program that needs to be implemented in it. I'm not going to talk about gunplay mechanics or map design or anything like that because frankly I'm just not good enough to start explaining it in detail, and I don't really have as good of understanding to really say, oh, listen to me about this because I know what I'm talking about. The reality is I don't. But when it comes to things like a rental server program and how it should be, I've got 5 years of experience of running one under my belt. I feel that in person, instead of sending out a survey, which they did the last time, trying to see if they were doing a good enough job, it ended up with what I can best describe as a load of people who'd never even owned the rental server program before, never worked with the rental server program before, giving them feedback on it, which just made fuck all sense, frankly. Now, again, as I've ran basically 3 servers at one stage, there was 2 in my previous community and there's the one that I run now, I feel that I'm at least someone to speak to about it, and I maintain that, DICE should only talk to people about this for those who have actually owned it before, rather than just a survey to the public, which doesn't help because majority of the feedback you're going to be getting is by people who've never worked with it before. Now, the only rental server programs that I'm going to be talking about, as in sort of a comparison, is Battlefield 1's, released in 2017, and Halo Combat Evolved. There's also going to be some Battlefield 2 ideas that I had as well. So, let's go through it. First things first, it needs to cost money. It can't be free like Battlefield 5's, and it can't be like 2042's. It has to cost money. The thing is, let's face it, if EA are actually going to be interested in this, they actually need to charge $1 for it. Now, don't get me wrong, Battlefield 1's pricing is ridiculous, and it shouldn't be anything like that. But, again, here comes the comparison. If I was to purchase a 64-player Conquest server with every single map, I have to pay 130 quid, or thereabouts. However, if let's say you're a Frontlines clan, or a Team Deathmatch clan, that do exist, or Domination, or Rush, I have to pay the same amount for less. Which doesn't make any sense at all, because it charges you from the amount of time you rent it rather than the amount of players you get. Now, I personally think 130 quid for a TDM server, so that's 24 players only, and it's only a fifth of the map that you get, because obviously it's not a full Conquest map, it's just a tiny portion of it. That to me is ridiculous. So that needs to change. It should be based on how many players you actually get. So for example, if you have a 64 player mode, you charge the full whack. If you charge a 32 player mode, so half, you have to pay half. See what I mean? 24 players will be a little bit less than that. Maybe some deals or something like that. Like Halo CE, prime example. Halo Combat Evolved, it was ran by an offside dedicated server program provider. So it wasn't ran by Microsoft or Bungie, it was ran by a company, I think that was literally called gameservers.com. Right? They would offer you something, because Halo was, it only held 16 players per server. So what they would say is, when you've purchased 3 servers, we'll give you 50% off a 4th. Something like that, I'm not saying you have to do exactly that, but something along those lines would go a long way. Next up, all the modes should be available, and again this is in reference to BF1, because operations not being an actual purchasable item, and this was the flagship mode of Battlefield. It was what made Battlefield stand out, was operations. Now yes, there is a way to glitch it, but it should be actually available rather than us having to break the actual server just to get it to work. Now, there are many people who they don't actually know about the glitched server, quote unquote. So unfortunately, they are stuck playing operations on a DICE server which is literally infested with cheaters. Thirdly, weapons and vehicles being able to be banned. Now, in my BF1 clan and many others, things like the SMG08 have been banned, the Muromets have been banned, mortar trucks, mortars, rifle grenades, elite kits in some servers have been just completely outright banned. And we get asked a lot, why can't you just stop people from spawning in with it? Well, we can't. So our only option is to quote-unquote disable the categories. So we would have to ban every single SMG if we want to ban the SMG. We'd have to ban land vehicles, not just tanks. You know, the list goes on. Can't ban the Muromets, we have to ban, not planes, air vehicles. Again, the list goes on. And from what I found out from hosting an event yesterday, even if you ban land vehicles, you can't ban cavalry, which are counted as a vehicle. Because the rental server program is shit. Now, the reason being why you should be able to ban individual weapons, individual vehicles, is actually quite simple. Many of you may be new to the game, but back in 2017, it was about 3 or 4 months after the game released, DICE released sort of a early patch. It was before the French DLC, so it's about 2 to 3 months into the game's life cycle. I think it was just before the French DLC. They released some patch and it fixed some issue. It was a small end patch, but even this tiny patch completely broke the Model 10A Hunter and the Martini Henry. Basically, the 10A Hunter, the pellets, it was something to do with the cone of direction, from what I remember. They collected all together so you could one-shot someone from miles away. It basically became a sniper rifle. Now, as you can imagine, when something is broken in a game, it doesn't matter how shit it is to play against it, people will just spam it. So unfortunately, entire servers had no medics, no supports, not even scouts. Everybody spawned with a 10A Hunter. I even remember one DICE server where literally, there's no word of a lie, no over-exaggeration, there were 64 10A Hunters. And you would spawn in at B on Argonne Forest and get sniped with the 10A Hunter at someone from basically the field gun at D. You would run round a corner and dead. And you could do the same back. It's just fucking madness. The Martini Henry as well, just to give on this note, that, I don't know how it happened, but that broke its sweet spot. So basically that also became a one-shot cannon at all ranges. I don't actually remember what the range that it capped off was, but it was one shot at close range, and I remember sniping someone with it from 800 meters away on Sinai Desert. It had no bullet drop either. It was literally like a Gewehr 98, just went straight there. So that, I think, was when they broke that, when they tried to fix the 10A Hunter after they realised how bad they'd fucked up. Now, wouldn't it have been better with this rental server program, just a thought, that we could actually ban the 10A Hunter when it breaks, ban the Martini Henry when it breaks? Wouldn't that have been a great idea? Now, I don't know why we still can't do it today, to be honest. Now, again, the same goes for vehicles as well. The Muromets is still ridiculously overpowered to this day, and people still spam with it, orbit with it, and just continue to use it even though it blatantly takes 0 talent. Wouldn't the ability to ban that certain variant of the Muromets be fine? We can allow the Muromets because the other two are fine. Ban the one that's overpowered and ridiculous. Just a thought. Now, making infantry-only servers would also be a good shout. Now, again, we can't actually do this, but it knocks the server custom. So, it takes us out of the matchmaking pool, majority of low ranks, and other people don't know where it is, so it just doesn't fill up very fast. Now, I am that old, I know I don't look it, that back in Battlefield 2, there was infantry-only servers, and it didn't have anything to do with custom servers. It didn't break it out of matchmaking and all that. You could see them easily on the server browser. And I remember Strike Karkand, Shark Peninsula, Warlord, Master City, Road to Jahalabad were all maps that had vehicles on it, but had been turned into infantry-only servers. And believe it or not, these infantry-only servers were more popular than their actual vehicle ones. Which I just found very strange, but it was a different community back then, I guess. But yeah, majority of servers back then were popular for being infantry-only above else. People really didn't like vehicles, it seems. Now, talking of Battlefield 2, I feel something of entering the server should be a great shout. Now, again, if you've never played it, this is kind of hard to explain. I might put an image just real close in the after edit. But essentially, when you came in, it gave you the map on the right-hand side and gave you some basic lore, like, you know, the USMC is pushing in to strike at Karkin City and stuff like that, and blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit of lore. The Middle Eastern Coalition is defending. And then it had, in a little tiny box on the left-hand side, it would have the rules of the server. So in other words, when you join the server, you would be able to read the rules. And that way, whenever someone spawned in and started breaking the rules, let's say bunny hopping, because that used to be a real problem on Battlefield 2. Bunny hopping was banned in most servers. So it would say no bunny hopping, or bunny hopping equals kick. So sure enough, if you found someone who started doing it, you didn't have to worry about warning them, you could just kick them straight away. It also just allowed us to give information to players. Because the biggest problem we have is that, at least in this rental server program on Battlefield 1, it doesn't give any information unless you have either previously favorited the server or joined via server browser. Most people join via matchmaking. So those people that join and say want to use the SMG08, prime example, they don't see the SMG08 equals kick in our server name, or, you know, Ilya equals kick in, I think it's one of TSC servers or something like that. They've got that rule, or maybe it's Frag Shack, not sure. But they can't see that because there's nothing there. So they just spawn in thinking it's a normal server, spawn in, and they're immediately booted. It just creates this whole, like, real problem. They blame us because we're not, quote unquote, telling them, but it's actually their fault for not checking the server in the first place, I would argue. Now, this little box, you know, just explaining the rules, it takes off all the problems. Because all of a sudden, we don't have to tell them, don't do this, don't do that. The rules are there. You either read it or you ignore it and get kicked. Because we get blamed, which I just find ridiculous. But next up, a bot. Something like what was in BF3 and BF4 would be so good. Now, what I mean by this is you would just type in chat, ! Whatever, Discord would come up, ! rules, just as a little added layer of security. You know, oh, there's the rules in their entirety. They would pop up only on your screen. Something along those lines. Maybe have it on be able to work it so it's on a timer. So, for example, one of the biggest problems we have with adminship is a lot of people will tend to accusate in chat. You know, this guy, he's blatant aimbot. What we try and explain is the last thing you should do is that. Join the Discord. You know, get in a squad with an admin and talk to them there. Don't let the cheater know that he might get spectated, because he will just switch off his cheats. And that has happened numerous times. So something like that just says, don't accusate in chat, never let the potential cheater know we are watching him, you know, something along those lines, and then just say report in Discord etc. would go a long way. The ban list. Now, BF1, in all of its genius, it decided 200 players was enough. It's about a fifth of what we need, maybe. And that isn't an over-exaggeration either. At its height, back in 2018, my previous community was banning up to 35 to 40 people a day. And again, that's not an over-exaggeration. 35 to 40 people a day. Some days it was worse than others. I think one day I remember 50. That genuinely happened. 50 cheaters in a day. And at its best, you're probably looking at about 20. It never dropped below that. Cheating in Battlefield 1 was absolutely insane at one stage. And honestly, I think the only reason it's got quote-unquote better is because the game's old. So, what would be a good thing with this is that the anti-cheat logs whoever gets added to the ban list. Maybe give us an option when we add them to said ban list that we can forward it on to the anti-cheat team or something like that. Just something to get the account removed so it doesn't go into another server and and cheat. This way, it goes straight to the anti-cheat team, or it's forwarded to something that deals with the cheaters. That would just be such a smart move because it just makes everything more efficient. And the thing is, we're prepared to do that. I'm happy to do that. Because of the fact that I've done this now for 5 years. I've spectated cheaters. All of my admin teams have. We spend months of our lives and just time of our lives trying to make BF1 a better experience for people. We don't do it for money. We do it basically because we want to provide that. So something as simple as making our lives a little bit more efficient, knowing that that cheater, no matter what, is never coming back, makes everything better. Now, renewal. Now this is something that I've never truly understood. Back in, again, the days of Halo CE, whenever the server was about to expire, they would email you. And they would say, your server's about to expire in a week, a month, something like that. And they would send about 3 emails, I think it was. It was on a timer. So it would be like, one says a month, one says a week, one says 3 days, or something like that. It was just as a reminder to say, do you want to renew it? So the server never went down, ever. You just paid your money. So it would say, let's say, it would obviously make it all efficient. And you would just go, right, I don't want the server to expire, so on the end of that day, it just gets renewed for another 6 month, 2 month, whatever it is, a year. And it would just say, alright, no problem, pay this, paid, done. It never dies. The RSP in Battlefield 1, it has to die for you to renew it. You can't just go, alright, I want it to go on, I want it to continue. Which doesn't make any sense. Now granted, it is a small issue in the sense that it's only it's twice a year basically, because it's 6 months that I rent it for. But even so, again, it just makes things a bit more efficient. It would also help when it comes to purchasing multiple servers, because you don't have to constantly worry about, when's it going to expire? Oh no, don't worry about it, I know. Who knows, maybe even a timer that only the server owner can see, so they can see how long it's going to last. Oh, it's going to expire in a week, better renew it. Something underneath. Only the server owner can see this. It expires in X amount of time. I'll go and renew it for another 3 months or something like that, just to keep it on top. Done. Now, I would just like to sign off on the fact that an RSP is kind of needed. It allows communities to form, and it lets them have the game their specific way. And of course, EA make money, which is what they're obsessed with. But BF1's RSP, which was simply put out to make us shut up. This needs regularly updating, this RSP. It must not turn out like BF1's, which is still listed as a beta. Honestly, for the money it costs, it's bare bones to say the least. Now, when it comes to other things in Battlefield, there are small things that I would like to add. Now, again, when it comes to gunplay, when it comes to map design, I'm not the person to ask. I don't preach about shit I don't understand properly, and unless I've got 100% experience with something, I'm not going to talk about it, because frankly, my opinion on gunplay, my opinion on map design shouldn't mean shit to anybody. I know what I know, and I know what I don't. There are obviously things such as the sweet spot mechanic. I can give very basic examples. I think the sweet spot mechanic is one of the worst additions to the game, to any game, frankly. It shouldn't have been added. But there is also one thing that I would like to take from Halo. Now, let's face it, the next Battlefield is most likely going to be full of microtransactions. It's going to have really cringy shit. What I would prefer is something Halo did. The MCC, to be specific. See, the Halo MCC has got a very... It's got a very cosmetic-induced kind of market, right? It's basically the same as Battlefield in a way, and what it's become. So, you can have Spartans that look ridiculous. You know, really just over the top stupid. But there's an option in Halo MCC to turn off any specific cosmetics. So for example, you can either play in a normal game, just where it's normal assault, medic, support, scout, or you can just switch it up and have the cosmetics on or off. So in other words, they look normal, or if you don't mind it, you can switch it straight off. Something like that would go a long way. Halo actually did a really good job of it, because some people just didn't like the fact that it was somebody who were reading the game. They couldn't tell what was an actual Spartan because of the cosmetics. So this way, the people such as myself who never ever purchase cosmetics, they're happy because they see the game and they get used to the game for the way it is. And the people that like cosmetics, they can purchase it and see it, and it's done. So, on that note, I will love you and leave you.